Hi, I'm Marge Charmley. Welcome to BiCities, a program by, for, and about the Bi Plus community and our friends and allies. My co-host, Dr. Anita Kozan, isn't here tonight, but she will be joining us in future episodes. If you haven't ever watched BiCities before, welcome. We are the longest running show in the history of the world on bisexuality, so we're glad that you could join us. And if you've seen us before, welcome back. We always love to have you, and of course you can let us know if there are guests that you'd want to have on the show, or if you just enjoy the show in general. You can go to BiCities.org and catch us on the internet, or go to SPNN Studios here in St. Paul and watch it on television. So one of the fun things about doing BiCities is that I get to meet really wonderful and interesting people. And tonight we have a guest who is the co-chair of the Regional Conference on Bisexuality. It's called Because, and it has been in existence since 1992, 27 years. So we are very blessed to have that. It has been the largest regional conference in the United States on bisexuality. And tonight, Colleen Waldie, who is the co-chair of Because, will be talking about the next conference, when it is, where it is, what you can expect, how you can get there, and what to look forward to. So, Colleen, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're thrilled to have you.
I'm pretty thrilled to be here to talk about my conference.
Well, you know what I'm going to do the first thing off the bat? Because. I know you've been practicing. What does Because stand for?
I did. I had to study because we never use it, but it is the Bi Plus Empowerment Conference, a unifying, supportive experience.
Perfect. And I know you know the history of why it got to be called Because. Can you share that with our audience?
I do, actually. One year we asked Elise, we said, why? Why did you name it Because? And she said, well, the reason that we started it is because we felt ignored by the larger LGBTQ organizations.
Right, exactly.
And when asked why we wanted our own conference, we said, well, because.
Because.
And that was apparently how they named it.
Just Because.
Yep.
And here you're referring to Elise Matheson, who is one of the co-founders of Because, and there are a couple other folks that are still in the bi community.
Oh, absolutely. We're very lucky to still have them around.
Yeah. So they came up with Because, and then they had to come up with something to sort of stand for each letter.
I'm pretty sure that's how it went.
Yeah. Well, that's how we do things in the bi community, isn't it? We just Because.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Because has been in existence since
1992 was the first year, yeah.
The first year.
27 years now. Not all of them have had a conference.
Right.
I think we're on year 22 or 23 in terms of actually presenting the conference, but that's a pretty good string for
a good stretch, yeah.
A Bi Plus conference.
Exactly. And over the time, it hasn't always been in the BiCities here. It's been elsewhere a couple times, I think in Milwaukee and other places.
Right,
yeah.
I think at this point we're pretty good with our home actually here in St. Paul. I'm actually a Minneapolitan. So, but I come across the river for Because. So we're actually really excited to have it in St. Paul.
So tell us a little bit about the next conference, when it is, where it is.
So last year we started our transition to fall.
Okay.
So our conference this year is October 11th through 13th.
2019.
2019.
All right, okay.
It is going to be held again at the Wellstone Center. They were fabulous to us last year.
Okay.
So we are delighted to be back, and they're delighted to have us. We know that it's a great fit for the community with their vision, and it's extremely accessible to get to. Very easy to move around in the space. We've been very happy there, so we're excited to come back for a second year.
So it's a 3 days, starting like a Friday night, all day Saturday, and then part of Sunday?
Yep, so we'll open the doors around 5 o'clock on Friday.
Okay.
Things extend, I believe, until about 10, all day Saturday, and then on Sunday we'll keep going until about 5 o'clock again.
Okay. Well, when people show up, what can they expect if they've never been to Because? And I know that when you and I talked earlier, you said there might be a few things that are different this year. So there'll be some things that are the same, and some things that are different. So.
Well, we know one of the big draws for our regular attendees are our workshops, and getting to talk to and hear from some of the experts in the Bi Plus community on the things that interest them and the ways that their Bi Plus identity intersects with other areas of their lives. So folks who have been with us before can absolutely expect that to return.
Okay.
We are at the point of recording anyway, still accepting proposals
All right,
for
okay.
workshops, but that may not be relevant when this airs. But those are ongoing, and we're really looking through them to provide both some of the familiar workshops that we've done in the past and also some new things, because the world does keep changing, and there are new things to discuss. But one of the things that is a little different this year is that people who have attended in the past will know that we often have a keynote speaker, who is usually a predominant person in the field who often does speaking as part of their living. And what we've discovered is that that isn't necessarily what our community is looking for.
Interesting.
So we're trying a couple new things. We're going to have a few new events, a little bit more participatory activities where you're not being spoken to so much as participating in actively building community. So we are brainstorming that, and we've got some pretty neat things coming up that are going to take that place. And we're hopeful that folks will really enjoy what we've got put together. I know I'm excited about it.
Well, I'm always excited about BiCause. I mean, it was the first time. I felt pretty alone for a long time in the BiCities over here of St. Paul. And when BiCause came, it was like, wow, I've arrived. It was like coming into Oz, and I don't have to explain myself or back up the train to try to get people on board. So it's been a really, really powerful, empowering place.
It is it's a totally different experience to share a room with several hundred people that, like you said, you don't have to explain yourself to.
Yep.
So,
we all get it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you talked about keynote speakers, because when you and I talked earlier before the recording here, I asked, who are the keynotes?
Yeah.
And you said, we don't have any.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's all different.
It is. And, we're going to see how that works out this year. We don't make an assumption that we're perfect, but we do want to keep BiCause growing and supporting the community and what it needs and what it wants and what it finds entertaining. So we don't want to change everything. We've lasted for 27 years.
Right.
Got a pretty good foundation.
Something's been working. Yep.
But we do want to make sure that we're still growing and thriving and not just stagnating.
How did you get feedback from the community to make the adjustments that you're making?
We actually have reached out to a lot of the folks that have attended in past years, and many folks reached out to us on our website every year.
Okay.
Afterwards, of course, there's a feedback form, and we very highly encourage folks to use that to get in touch with us, and it asks about everything from, did you find the space accessible, to did you enjoy what we did?
Well,
well, acceptable as well, yeah.
Acceptable and accessible.
And we got a lot of great feedback last year. We've also been speaking to folks who are involved with the, I'm going to say GSA at school, and you're going to ask me what that stands for, and I don't remember.
Gay Student Alliance, maybe.
Yeah,
just give it
that's what it used to be, but now I think it's something else. Anyway,
student groups.
Yes, student groups.
that are supportive of queer students.
So we've really been talking to those folks. We had folks join us from, I believe, Nebraska last year. They posted it to their local bi group and said, "Hey, everybody, let's take a road trip." So we got a great amount of feedback from folks who aren't local to the area. So we've really been very pleased with the people that have been willing to talk to us and tell us what they're enjoying and what they're looking forward to.
So how many people roughly are you expecting based on what happened, and from where will people be coming in from?
Well, I would expect we almost always have between 200 to 300 attendees. Sometimes more, rarely less. We know that, of course, the Minneapolis area is, and St. Paul is the largest of our attendees. We do actually get folks usually from both coasts as well, from some of the larger BI+ organizations that are on the coast. We often get folks from Wisconsin. It's a good day trip.
Okay.
And then we have seen more folks coming from out west. Nebraska and Utah and I think Kansas. It's west to me.
That's west.
So that's, I would say, where most folks come from. We do have a few folks that come from overseas, which is amazing, and we love having them. We actually have one person who reached out to us who always goes to BiCon, which is the UK's BiPlus conference, and said, well, if you can let me know what your dates might be a few years in advance, I might be able to get there. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we have a story I just want to share with our audience that a number of years ago, our floor manager, Tom, was at BiCities, and I think some of the rest of us were, but he was sitting next to this woman and started a conversation. And where are you from? And I think she was from India.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, Tom said, how did you find out about BiCities? And interestingly enough, we had just gone up on the internet. It was the first show that we put on the internet.
Well, that's fabulous.
And she said, I'm bisexual, and I don't know of any bisexual people. I've never met any. And you know, where I come from, they kill us. And so it was really kind of a risky thing for her to do. And she found out, she said, well, I was looking on the internet and it came up. So she traveled all the way from there to come to BiCities.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
the
those
kind
are
of
the
community
stories.
that we want to build.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a wonderful spot and for people from all over.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to circle back to the programs.
Sure.
And no keynote, but you're going to have some interactive activities. And you were talking about some of the things, the interactive ones you might do that.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've sort of tested out in past years that has proven to be very successful is what the person who runs it calls speed friending.
Okay.
So it's like speed dating, but without the pressure.
Okay.
And one of the things that people really love about that is if they are coming from somewhere outside of the cities, or if they don't have a supportive community where they know other BiPlus people, it makes it so that they can meet people, and then they have people to hang around with at the convention.
Cool.
And it really, people say it makes them feel a lot less alone, you know, and you've got kind of a buddy system going. So we did that last year, and we heard Saturday night is too late. I want to get to know these people earlier than that.
Right.
So we're actually expanding that so that we're doing that on both Friday and Saturday
Friday
night.
and Saturday.
Yeah, so you can get to know, you. If you've never been there before, I don't think you'll know anybody. Right after dinner on Friday, you can get to know a whole bunch of people, and then you'll be able to hang out with them all weekend. So
You know, that is fabulous, because I think for some people going to a convention and not knowing anybody is kind of daunting.
absolutely,
You know, so if you just kind of put in a situation where here are the rules, you know, just
yeah, people have really enjoyed it. I mentioned that people were great telling us what they thought about last year, and one of the things we kept hearing was this was a great activity, do it earlier, do it more often.
Okay, all right, okay.
So we're pretty excited about that. We're also actually having entertainment on Saturday coming in. We've talked to the Calliope Women's Chorus, who is going to be putting on a performance. We're pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
So,
Calliope's been around for a while.
yeah. So it's great to partner with some of the other organizations here in the cities.
Yeah.
And we have a couple other things, but I'm not quite sure that I can talk about them yet.
Okay.
But
So they're little secret, mysterious.
they are.
Things,
Well,
yes.
we'd hate to promise something we couldn't deliver.
No, of course, no, I totally.
So-
But it's good to have a little mystery.
Right.
We
You're
need
just gonna have
mystery
to
in
come
life
up
to kind of
and
entice.
see.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and we'll have workshops, and it's not, we're certainly not getting rid of what works. We're just introducing a couple new elements. One of the things that people really enjoyed last year that we're coming back is longer meal times.
Longer meal times. Okay.
Yeah, people wanted the ability to sit and really form community, and didn't want to be broken up during that time. We thought, well, that's excellent. Yeah, let's make space for that. So, longer meal times. You know, the ability to get to meet somebody in the evening, and have a friend to pal around with. So we're really trying to focus in on building and sustaining our community.
You know, it's interesting. You're probably familiar with Bill Burleson, who started BiCities and was influential in starting BOP as well. But he wrote a book, Bi America, about the bi communities, and he said, you know, a lot of the places where bis go to meet each other is conferences like BiCities. So it makes sense that people want to have the speed friending and time to just interact and not be listening to somebody or in a workshop or something, but just to have community.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
which is kind of sad in a way when you think that there aren't any really bi spaces or too many of them. But
Well, yeah.
there's because.
One of the things that we're also bringing back for this conference that we tried last year as well is that the conference will end with a community building discussion centered around, well, now that you've been to Because and you've spent 3 full days with fabulous BI plus people, how do you take that energy out of this space? How do you take that back to your community? So we are very excited. Last year's was incredibly touching and moving. It was a really great way to sort of end that experience and wrap it up and bring some closure to it, but also some new opportunities. So that is something else that's coming back next year or this year as well.
What are some of the, the old standard chestnuts, in terms of what people can expect in terms of workshops? Or
Well, you'll see the Bisexual Organizing Project's standard workshop on BI Plus Essentials. That's the workshop that they take into corporate environments to help companies understand how to serve their BI Plus employees and population. You'll also see some of the intersections between our community and other very closely aligned communities. So what is it like to be bi plus and trans?
Yep.
What is it like to be bi plus and polyamorous? What is it like to be bi plus and a person of faith? So I don't think those ever get old. I think there's always something new to explore there. So we'll see how our presenters approach that this year, but it's always interesting to see how those outside world changes bring themselves into Because, where we can really sit with them and sort of critically examine what does this mean to us as bi plus people.
Yeah, in 1992 we didn't think about intersectionality and all the different intersections of marginalized populations. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ones that tend to come around because they're good to re-examine every year.
Yeah.
In terms of other things that I think might be coming up, we have somebody who attended a trans health conference.
Okay.
And may speak to her experience on what it was like not being in BI plus space, but being in trans space as a BI plus person, and how that informed how she took away information from that. So we're hoping that we can convince her that that's something our community would like to hear. So that's something that's a little bit newer. We're taking advantage of that opportunity of having an attendee who had that experience and would speak to it. So.
Are there any other programs or things about Because, like if people want to register or, it's going to be in St. Paul, Minnesota on the dates that you mentioned, October 10th, 11th, 12th, I believe.
11th through the 13th.
11th through the 13th, the Wellstone Center. And how do people register?
So it's actually very easy to register. You can register online. You just need to go to our website on becauseconference.org.
Okay.
There's a link right there that says registration. I couldn't make it any easier.
Big letters.
Yep. Yep. And when they get to the registration site, if folks have never registered before, they might be surprised to see many different ticket types. And the reason we do that is because we don't believe that economic access should determine the value of your voice.
Okay.
So we rely on folks who have the ability to pay more, but if people can't, then they can't, and they are welcomed with open arms. There is nothing that will be closed.
Okay.
So
it's kind of a sliding fee.
It is, yeah, and it is up to the person to decide what is comfortable to them, and we will never ask them about it.
All right.
It's completely up to them, because we want to make sure everybody can come.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, because I would imagine that people coming in from either coast or even overseas, it's going to be enough just to get here.
Right.
And so if we can help in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen the research for our community. We know that there are struggles that are very real and very present for the BI plus community. So one of the things that we very strongly believe in doing is making sure that we remove as many of those barriers as possible.
Yeah. So are you in a position just to talk a little bit about some of the disparities that, I'm sure it's in BI Essentials, but, you and I are familiar with them, but for our viewing audience? What do
I'm
we
afraid
see?
I didn't come prepared with any numbers.
Okay, that's fine.
But we have seen from the research, we know that a high percentage of our population struggles with housing insecurity and struggles with food insecurity, not getting the kind of access to medical care they need, either physical or mental health care. We know that folks come from, in many times, an unsupportive background and are forced to reckon with that as well. So, and I don't want to say it's all doom and gloom,
No,
you know.
no.
So I think our community is stronger because of it. And I think that because is a great way to bring people together so that really they can support one another. That's really the point of the community, is to bring people home.
Yeah, and there's, there are the disparities, and we know about the health disparities and all those other, but there's also a fair amount of resilience.
Absolutely.
For the people who have persisted, because they're, I'm going to segue into the next piece, and that is something we talked about. How many really strong bi communities are there in the United States? I mean, we're one of the big ones.
And we know we've got Boston and LA.
Sure.
There's actually a very vibrant community in Salt Lake City, which is super exciting.
Now go figure, right?
Right?
Yeah.
But they're growing and thriving, and I don't directly contact them much, but I follow them on Facebook, and it's super exciting to see what they're doing. So, it does sometimes feel like little pockets, but again, like you said, I think we're all the more resilient and stronger for it.
Yeah. And I think you were saying that because it's actually, if not the largest conference on bisexuality, certainly one of them.
We are the largest in the United States.
All right.
I believe BiCon in UK might be bigger.
Okay.
Maybe. I have to talk to the organizers there and see if we
we'll
can get more
have to pull people in off
yeah.
the streets. We'll go stand and pull them in to
right.
make our because. Are there any other things that you want to make sure that our audience knows about because and what they might expect here?
I really want people to understand that no matter where they are and no matter what community they have, their community is waiting for them at Because.
Yeah.
They are welcome here, and whatever they bring with them through the door is perfectly welcome. There is somebody here, there's a community here that is supportive and can get a little rowdy. Right? Because is not just it's not just workshops. It's a little bit of celebration too.
Yeah.
But it's a different experience to be in a conference where you don't have to explain anything, you don't have to pretend anything. You can just be who you are, and everybody there is going to default to that assumption. And it is a fabulous experience, and I think if people haven't experienced that, they should at least once.
Well, there's a lot of diversity in the bi community and a lot of acceptance for whoever comes in the door mostly.
Absolutely, and it's something we deliberately foster at Because.
Are there any kind of guidelines or rules, if you will, or what would be a better way?
Well, there is a code of conduct that is posted on our website.
Okay. There we go.
So there is a code of conduct, which is essentially that we will not stand for any sort of harassment.
Okay.
There are also policies specific to Because and the community we support. There are some limitations on photography.
Okay.
We understand that not everybody who comes is out.
Right, exactly.
And there are some limits on things like scented products to make sure that folks that have sensory concerns don't feel unwelcome in the space. So,
right. They don't get sick by the smell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you register, it does state on there that you agree to our code of conduct and our policies when you register.
Okay. So it's right out there.
It's right out there.
Front,
I would really encourage folks to take a gander at the website. It's not anything out of the ordinary, but just to make sure they're informed. There's no tricks here. It's not like a software terms of use where it's 15 pages of tiny print. Nothing like that.
Yeah,
but,
I agree, and then you don't even know what you
right.
agree to. Yeah.
So there are policies, but mostly they're there to really protect our community and make it a safe space for everybody.
Right. Well, it's amazing that Because has been around for as long as it has.
I know.
And thanks to people like you, it keeps on going. We still have a safe place. And what always amazes me, I'm a psychologist and kind of keep up on some of the literature and research. And some of the issues that faced me when I was coming out are still present. You know, the bi erasure, the invisibility, even within the queer community, you know, queer among queers. So there's some issues that just are still there and prevalent, even though we've had conferences like Because, even though there more and more people are coming out. So it's not always an easy identity to negotiate. And then, of course, within the community, we have all kinds of names that we call ourselves or identities that we have. So that's evolving as we go too. So
it is. It's kind of exciting, actually. I always like seeing people who have found their word.
Yes, yes.
Seeing somebody who's found their identity and this is who I am is very exciting. And the many different ways they have today to do that are fabulous. I heard an analogy once that said a cat can teach you about labels. There's a difference between getting into a box because you want to and being put in a box.
Bingo.
So, and I have 2 cats, and I thought, that's exactly right, they'll jump in every box, but the minute I put them in one, they don't want to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's always great when somebody finds their box and says, I want this one.
Yeah, this one looks really interesting. So I can resonate with the cat metaphor, so I've got some at home. Well, Colleen Waldie, thank you so much for coming over to inform us about Because, for keeping the history going, for putting in the work, because, you know, there are a lot of people that just want to show up, and that's fine. We need a space, but for the people that do the work and make it happen and make it a safe place and a welcoming place, you know, you're doing this on your own time.
Yeah.
It's volunteer. So thank you very much.
Well, and anybody who wants to volunteer while they're there,
all right.
I will say that is another great way to meet people.
All right. Okay. So there will be opportunities
to volunteer. There will be opportunities.
Okay. Well, Colleen Waldie, thank you very much for being on BiCities tonight and for doing the work that you do in the bi community. And I don't think we've met before, so this is really a pleasure for me to.
Yeah,
or if we have,
sure.
I'm not sure if we have, but now we have.
I honestly, I am always. Because goes by for a blur for me. It's all a blur with too much to do. When I stop being chair, I'm going to really enjoy being able to attend and really get some more time to meet with people. So this was a great opportunity as well.
Yeah, great. Well, I will look forward to seeing you at Because.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you. Would you like to join us in our signature goodbye?
Sure.
Okay. Bye for now.
Up here, we're gonna fall. Oh, no. Whoa, whoa.